welcome everyone to our Bluesound NAD training webinar series. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Mark Arajanian with 21st Century Distributing, and we are excited to have you guys here for our two-part series, which will cover Bluesound's products and technology today and NAD tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel for the training tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern time for NAD. Training us on Bluesound today is David Dunn, who is the technical sales and training specialist for Lenbrook Group, which is the umbrella company of Bluesound, NAD, and PSB loudspeakers. So we're happy to have David here with us today. If you have any questions whatsoever, please type them in the chat box below, and we will get those answered for you at the end of the training session. As always, this webinar is being recorded and will be hosted on our virtual conference center for your employees or teammates that want to miss something today, want to view it maybe tonight after the fact. We'll have that recorded in our virtual conference center. Also, like I mentioned before, please make sure to register for tomorrow's session with NAD. Tomorrow it's going to be, like I said, at 10 o'clock. You can register for that on our virtual conference center on our website if you haven't done so already. So, David, really appreciate you being here and going through Bluesound for us.
No problem. Thanks for having me, and thanks everybody for joining us. As Mark said, I'm from Lenbrook. The way I structure this presentation is BluOS, as the screen shows. It's the operating system that runs across NAD, PSB, Bluesound, basically the products we own. So Lenbrook is the parent company. We own NAD Electronics. It's a 51-year-old company. We bought it back in the late 90s. We had been the Canadian distributor for it for many, many years before that, and also the US distributor for it. PSB Speakers is a 51-year-old Canadian speaker company. That gentleman there in the middle there is Mr. Paul Barton. He's the P and the B in PSB Speakers. He's actually one of the founders, pretty much, of the Canadian loudspeaker industry. So any speakers that come from Canada, a lot of them kind of owe their existence to him and some of his groundbreaking work that he did way back when. And Bluesound, I always call the child of the two, and it's going to be the main subject of today's training. But I like to talk about the software platform that wraps around it, because it is pretty much universal. So if you understand the software platform, how it works, its features, all of that part of it, it's just a matter of plugging in the boxes that kind of fit to your needs. So I think it's important to understand I'll call it basically the backbone of everything, and then the box is really how many inputs, how much power, do you need an amplifier, all of those things that kind of go along with it. So BluOS is a software platform we developed. It's been out in the wild, as I like to say, for about 11 years now. It's probably about 13 to 14 years in development. All of it was created from scratch by us at Lenbrook. So everything, the hardware, the software, everything was created by us. And right from the beginning, it was all about being a step up, much like NAD amplifiers and receivers and things like that aren't the mass market brand. Bluesound and BluOS was designed to very much be the same. It was always going to be the step up. So we knew right from the get-go, 11 years ago, it had to be high resolution. Didn't matter if it was going to be wired or wireless. We need to do it in both ways. And a lot of people thought we were a little crazy in the beginning, that there was no high resolution streaming platforms out there. CDs were still very, very common. It was almost viewed as high res was for the propeller heads, that download, tracks once in a while. But we knew that was going to change. And I think history industry bears that out with all the streaming services that are going towards high res. It also had to be multi-room, multi-source, so different streams from different sources, whether they be a streaming service, Bluetooth, auxiliary audio from a physical device, as well as streaming services and your local music library. That was something else that we knew we needed to support. And have unique hardware. There's really not much point of being exactly the same as somebody else. We had to have different solutions, different hardware, and provide that to people. So they had choices. This is, I'll call it kind of an interesting slide that came up a couple of months ago when we did our fiscal year kickoff. Kind of gives you an indication of the size and scale of BluOS as an operating system. We have 80 different players that exist in the ecosystem, 23 different languages, so no matter what your native platform or language is, we play that way. We support over 40 different AirPlay devices. We're actually the world's largest AirPlay partner for Apple. Nobody makes more AirPlay devices than we do, which I actually found quite surprising. I didn't know that one. And 75 or more devices support MQA, Spotify Connect, some of those Connect technologies as well. And obviously a bunch of different streaming services out there, and that's an ever-changing, ever-developing, constantly evolving thing as different streaming services come on board. Some disappear, some get created. So obviously streaming service is where most of the people get their music onto our platform from these days. Physical media still very much very easy to get into our platform, but streaming services really are the name of the game. So like I said, from a content perspective, whether it be a local network device like a NAS drive or a computer with RIP CDs, you can get that into our ecosystem. All the different streaming services out there. Bluetooth, we do aptX HD Bluetooth in every device, actually two-way in most of our devices, so you can send Bluetooth into our device or send it out. AirPlay 2, obviously I mentioned that, and then again, whether it be a digital or analog physical source, there's many, many different ways you can get that into our ecosystem. But streaming services really are the name of the game. That's what everybody's doing, much like people discovered with video. People have gotten rid of a lot of set-top boxes and they just stream everything, whether it be Amazon Prime or Netflix or what have you. Audio is exactly the same. So here's a quick list of the currently supported streaming services. Like I said, they're a little bit of the Wild West. Out of all of them, only Spotify actually makes money. All the rest of them are basically money pits. But if you're, Google and Apple and some of the other ones, Amazon, you don't really care. It's about kind of growing your reach a little bit. So they come and go. We do support 4 different commercial services as well. So if you have a need to do a commercial type service, we do support that as well. I like to show this slide because it really does help define, what the platform is about and kind of what you get both from your money in your streaming service and what you get on the hardware side. So down at the bottom, 320 kilobits a second is the best quality audio Spotify can provide. It's 75% smaller than a CD. It's all MP3 based. A CD is the 1441 kilobits there, the orange block. And right from the get-go, we built the platform to be 24-bit 192K high-resolution audio. Every player all the time, doesn't matter if it's wired or wireless, there's no asterisk and like only if it's hardwired and only if it's a standalone player, none of that stuff. We do high resolution all the time. There is no conditionals to it. And I like to point that out, not that high resolution is necessarily, the first thing that people come into mind when you're installing some 6-inch in-ceiling speakers, but there's a lot of benefits both for the consumer as well as the dealer. So for the consumer, the homeowner that has a music distribution system installed, or some of our other players, whether they be standalone speakers or what have you, the benefits to high resolution is, number one, is better intelligibility at low volume levels. So, and that's where distributed audio lives. Every once in a while, sure, on a weekend or a Friday night, they like to turn it up in the kitchen, have a kitchen dance party, what have you. But most of the time, it's quiet, it's background music. With high resolution, you get better intelligibility. The other advantage over the MP3s and the lossy formats is it's less fatiguing. Low quality audio is fatiguing. And that's kind of contrary to what you want to do in everybody's house. There's a big push, whether it be, Lutron with lighting or some of the other lighting companies or HVAC and all those other things about wellness and making the home a better place to be. Using low quality audio is quite contrary to all of that stuff. So that's not really something, nobody wants their house to sound like a subway platform, and high resolution is definitely, the way to go in that regards. Now, for the dealer, it offers a number of different advantages as well. Number one, you can make more money. You can sell better speakers, you can sell better amplifiers. We have better margin than the competition, or higher price points of the competition. So you can make more money, you can sell better products, and it helps, make you distinct from your competition. If everybody's trying to sell the customer the exact same thing, what makes you different? What makes you stand out from the guy down the street who's trying to sell the customer the exact same thing? So lots of advantages to doing high resolution, much like, nobody these days is out looking for a VCR. People are buying 4K TVs, 8K TVs. Audio quality is not going to go backwards. It's only going to go forward, and we're definitely the only platform out there that has universal support and the breadth of product line to choose from as well. And then, so jumping back to the streaming services, these are the ones that currently support high resolution audio. So Tidal Connect, Amazon HD, Qobuz, Radio Paradise has an exclusive MQA stream that's only available through BluOS platforms for that. Nugs is a concert streaming service. Adagio, a classical one. Deezer Elite, CD quality and better. Neil Young Archives, and obviously high-res audio as well. These are the current ones. A lot of people already have Amazon, so it's a good one to experiment with, And there's a lot of people that, they're not going to convert from their Pandoras and their Spotifys, to Tidal or Qobuz or whatever purely on audio quality. But, you do have that option. If they're longtime Pandora users, great, but maybe they have them try out Amazon HD, because they're probably, it's a fairly inexpensive thing. Tidal just dropped their prices not too long ago as well. So lots of advantages there as well. And then local library support. We support almost 250,000 tracks in a local library. So if you've got somebody with a huge CD collection or what have you, great, we support that quite easily. I think our next closest competitor for local library is like 68 or 72,000 tracks. We're lots, leaps and bounds above that as well. And again, it doesn't matter how they get that in. We do have some kind of unique hardware solutions that help support that as well if they're not supercomputer literate, for example. And then this is a picture I like to show. It's actually a bit of an older picture. It's probably a good 8 years old now. That's Gary. Gary runs our QA lab up in Pickering. They run one of our players 24/7, 365 days a year, one of everything we've ever made, including our third-party products that we support from other manufacturers. And so him and his team of about a little more than a dozen people, that's all they do. They test all the software platforms, all the software, all the control systems, everything on every single player before we push that out, to the wild, to the people. Our system does support 64 players or 64 zones. And I joke, if you have a customer with 65 or 66 zones, don't worry about it, it'll still work. So we're more than double what the competition offers as far as player support in a network. And again, like I mentioned, we do license our technology out to other brands as well. And again, it's all the same app. It works no matter what they're doing. Some of the things you'd expect, zooming in a little bit more on Bluesound, you can stereo pair our products. So you could do a left speaker and a right speaker. We support multiplayer groups. These are what we refer to as fixed groups, or if you kind of think of it like a permanent group, kind of if you think like a kitchen breakfast area where it's an open concept. They're never going to play different content in those two rooms, but they might want different volume levels. They have, multiple pairs of speakers. Fixed group is a way to keep that that player list down short and keep everything linked together. So different players you can group together, and then obviously home theater groups as well. I think that's something that most people expect these days, is the ability to do I'll call it a quick and dirty home theater group. This is one of the products I talked about that's unique to us. We call it the Vault. It's a bit perfect CD ripper and 2 terabyte NAS drive all in one. The customer can be completely computer illiterate. Literally stick the disk in the front. It's bit perfect, so it can take 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes in order to make a copy of the disk, but it'll be an exact copy. We get all the metadata, we get the album art, we do all of that for the customer. They don't need to do that, and when it's done, it spits the disk out. It's completely open source. We use SMB or Samba file sharing, so it's accessible from any PC, Mac, or Linux computer. So if they've already ripped all their content and they just don't want it to live on a computer, so that Windows and Mac updates don't make their library disappear, they can just drag and drop it across the network to do that, or to make a backup. It is a physical hard drive, so like every hard drive out there on the face of the earth, they're guaranteed to fail at some point. We also making backups very easy. It's all supported through the app. So very unique piece. So bit perfect CD ripper, 2 terabyte network hard drive, and player all in one. So yeah, quite handy from that regard. And then, like I said, from a control standpoint, of all those 80 different players, past and present, it uses the exact same app. The only difference to the customer, whether it's an NAD piece or a PSB piece or a Bluesound piece, is just the little icon in the player drawer. That's the only difference as far as the customer is concerned. Everything else, it's just kitchen, living room, doesn't matter what it is, it works universally across everything. The other thing is that the app is dedicated for the platform. So it's a dedicated iPhone app, versus a tablet app, versus a watch app. Same with Android phone and tablet. That way, we can take advantage of the screen sizes, in, let's say, a tablet. When you've got all that real estate to use, it's not just a stretched out version of the phone. We take advantage of all that extra real estate as well. In addition, we have PC and Mac desktop versions of the app. So if somebody's, doing a den and they're sitting in front of their computer all day, they can have just a window open on their computer in order to control the system as well. So this is a kind of a couple of quick screenshots of the app. We rolled out our app update that we refer to as 4.0. So this is the fourth major, I'll call it, refresh of the app over its 11-year history. And we've gone to a little bit more call it contemporary design language. You'd be very familiar with people that are familiar with like Spotify and things like that, where you have, icons that are persistent across the bottom to make it quick and easy to navigate. So your home screen, your favorites, your music, your players, all of that stuff is there. That's quick and easy to get to. The other thing that we've done is we allow you to customize the way you look at your players. So for example, in your home screen, in the top left there, that most used stuff, that'll be the things that you do most often in that room. So if you're opening up let's say a sound bar, HDMI is probably the thing that gets used most often if it's in a bedroom or whatever. And you can customize it. You can actually drag and drop and move that thing down. So if you don't want to see presets, you can push it down the list or playlist or whatever. You have the ability to customize that. So it makes it easier and faster for the user to navigate around. In addition, let me just grab my laser pointer here. So here you can see this is how you group players together, that little link icon. And then you'll see this. You'll see Office plus, in this case, 2 other players. The X is how you break that group up. And again, up to 64 players in there. This is a unique product to us called the Hub. I'll show you a little bit more on that a little bit later on. And then, speaking of control, we support pretty much all the major control systems. The only ones that are missing there are Savant and Josh. My understanding is we're working on the Josh one. Savant wants you to stay in their ecosystem, so that one is going to be a little bit more difficult to pull off if that's something you want. We do have dealers that have written their own Savant driver as well. The API is publicly available on our website, so if you wanted to create your own control system from scratch, you can. Actually, our Brazilian distributor has done exactly that. They created their own control system and they wrote a BluOS driver for all of that. In addition, all the control drivers are full two-way integration. Obviously, Lutron isn't because they don't have touch screens, but you can integrate Crestron, Control4, Elan, all of them. It's full two-way control, so search, browse, all of that stuff. It's not just favorites. In addition, we recently added domotes in there, so if you need to do remote monitoring and things like that, feel free. No worries about that. Ignore the fire alarm. They're just doing testing. And then from an integration perspective as well, we do something we call presets. People are creatures of habit, so things like Lutron and things like that where you're putting in keypads, you get 10 presets per player through IR and 40 through automation and software. So, people don't get up in the morning to create a new playlist for, while they're making coffee. It's their favorite Pandora station or tune-in radio station or whatever. So one button press, it can give them their radio station and set a turn-on volume as well. It makes it very, very quick, very easy to operate. In a lot of our players as well, there's actually physical buttons or touch sensitive buttons on the top for that preset as well. So if you have a speaker unit in a kitchen, you don't have to get out your phone to operate it. You can hit one button, make everything happen quickly and easily. 12-volt triggers and all the non-amplified products to turn on amplifiers or receivers or integrated amplifiers, as well as auto sense for all the digital inputs as well. So very, very easy to operate. This is kind of a quickie list of some of the products past and present that you can pull from. If you're designing a system, everything from standalone speakers to dedicated CI products to AV receivers, everything. As far as BluOS is concerned, once you rename it, it's just another room. So you can do, a very, very high-end system, literally from $350 to $13,000 separate per room. It's a matter of what's the customer's need, what are the speakers, what are the room, what are the inputs. You can pick and choose. So the scalability of this system is extremely impressive. Like I said, we have an open API, so you can just download it off the website, write your own driver if you wanted to. Very, very straightforward. In addition, we have a bunch of, I'll call it hidden commands, so to speak, that are HTTP based. You can do things like turn off upgrades and things like that. If you have a control system in there, maybe it's a house that doesn't get used all the time. You can set, a service schedule and do upgrades, when you're there, and you can be an active participant in it. Our goal is to never break a system for an upgrade, and our track record is actually quite good that we don't do that. But sometimes it's a change in the streaming service that has forced us to make a change that might break something in your control system. So we give you the ability to turn that stuff off and on when you want. From a design perspective, you really do have a very broad range of products to choose from. So standalone Bluesound products, we have both what I refer to as component pieces as well as speaker units, sound bars, wireless subwoofers. All of that stuff is a pool you can pull from. On the NAD side, we have dedicated CI products that are designed to be rack mounted, hidden away. Bluesound is more the, I'll call it commercial retail looking product, but NAD, both on the custom side and our traditional components are much more dedicated towards that. And we'll take a little bit closer look at that in a second. And we have standalone powered speakers as well that have BluOS built in. So it doesn't matter what the room is, what the ask is, it's one experience, it's one ecosystem. You have a huge variety of products to choose from. In order to build a distributed audio system around the house. And it is scalable. You can do, let's say a 6-zone, distributed audio system that's rack mounted in the basement and a sound bar in the living room or the bedroom, a powered speaker in the kitchen, a backyard speaker system in the cabana with a node and a 70-volt amplifier. It all works exactly the same. As long as they're on the same network, they will just show up as another zone in the house. So kind of a quick look at a couple of those CI products. I'll try not to steal too much thunder for tomorrow's presentation, but two kind of key products, the CI 720. This is a rack-mounted amplified streamer, so it's kind of a blade setup, so up to 6 of them can slide into a chassis in a rack in the basement, or you could remote deploy them as well. Basically speaker out, you do have a subwoofer output as well as line inputs, Ethernet only, so no Bluetooth and no Ethernet in these products because they are designed to live in a rack in the basement. This is the most popular one. It's 4 streams, 1 network, 1 power, 1 U-high, 4 streams. I joke it's like buying tires, buy 3, get 1 free. From a pricing perspective, it is the price of 3 standalone players, but you get 4. You can turn off the 4th zone or 3rd zone or 2nd zone if you don't need it. Maybe the landscaping's not done. You need to go back, maybe in the fall or the springtime. You can still install it, wire everything up, just leave the amplifier, let's say, unplugged and the speaker's not connected to it, and just go in, and when you deploy the speakers, just with the desktop app, you can light up the last zone. Basically any web browser, you can light up that zone. Very, very cost effective. The math is with one of our main competitors. It actually costs the customer less money, but you make more money selling this product. So kind of some nice math to go with. We do have dedicated CI amplifiers to go with as well. And again, a vast range of products, whether it's high-end separates, our traditional stereo components, AVRs, all of that stuff. Everything ties together quite beautifully. I'm going to skip through the AVR one because Travis is going to want that one tomorrow, and we'll go into the Bluesound products specifically. So a number of universals. So these are what I refer to as our component pieces. The node is a standalone streamer. The Power Node Edge is our entry-level amplified product, and the Power Node is its bigger brother, basically double the power of the Power Node Edge with an extra input. The Power Node Edge also has the added benefit. It comes with a wall mount bracket in the box. We're not big fans of making people buy separate pieces of hardware and brackets and things like that. So quite often that stuff is included in the box. So the Power Node Edge has a little wall mount bracket. So if you want to hide it behind a flat panel or maybe in an Alco box or something, behind a TV, it's a much better option than doing a soundbar. You could sell maybe a pair of invisible in-walls, a pair of in-ceilings, or maybe a pair of in-walls, make more money, have a better, visible, or invisible system instead of, a soundbar underneath a TV. Gives you the option to make a better looking space. Most interior designers aren't big fans of, bookshelves or tower speakers or whatever. Invisible speakers, in walls, in ceiling speakers, and a Power Node Edge. They'd get the exact same functionality and operation as a soundbar in an essentially completely hidden system. Power Node, little bit bigger box, double the power. All 3 of those have an HDMI input. So again, your CEC, all of that stuff works beautifully. And the Volt we talked about, it's our bit perfect ripper. So fantastic way to operate a system. And all feature sets exactly the same. So 2-way Bluetooth, IR learning in every single product, physical inputs, whether it be optical, analog, HDMI, they're all options there. As you move up, you do tend to get, I'll call it, more options, more inputs. This is the speaker family. So from the Pulse Flex, our entry-level speaker unit, there's a battery pack available for it. All of these have optional wall mounts for them. The Pulse M is a great speaker if you're just going to put it on, let's say, a kitchen or bathroom counter. If you can't get speakers in there, maybe it's a retro situation, running speaker wire and amplifiers and all that, may not be an option. Great way to put it on the network. All of them link together quite well. And again, all of the speakers and voicing are from the PSB side of the family. So you have a gentleman with 40 plus years of speaker design and experience, award-winning speaker design and experience voicing these stuff. So I know everybody says their stuff sound good. I can confidently say our stuff really does sound good. In addition, we have a sound bar. Everything comes in black and white as well, so there's both a black and a white sound bar. It really is a pretty astonishing sound bar. We developed it to sound great without a subwoofer. So if you want to add a subwoofer, great, you can. We do have a wireless subwoofer. You can pair up to 3 of them with it as well. Or it does have a physical subwoofer output. So if the customer has one, or maybe you want to do an in-wall subwoofer or a subwoofer from a different company that maybe you're making great margin on, that's going to get hidden away, under a nightside table or bedside table or whatever, great, you have that option as well. Wall mount bracket is in the box, so there's nothing to remember to order separately. No worry about stock levels, any of that stuff. Everything's in the box. In addition, the soundbar can get mounted with the connections either facing up or down to make it easy to operate. Like I said, it learns IR. It has 2-way Bluetooth, so Bluetooth in and out of the soundbar. Great solution if you have a customer, maybe one of them wants to read, the other one wants to watch TV. You don't have to do some kind of science experiment of wireless headphones to get it to work. Their AirPods or whatever they've got, their headphones of choice. As long as they're Bluetooth headphones, you can send audio from the soundbar out to those headphones very, very easily. All done through the app. Very, very simple. In addition, it's one of the many pieces you can use to do a home theater group. So you can do a soundbar or a power node in the front, or one of our Master Series components for the front channels. And then for the rears, you can use the Pulse Flexes, any of the power nodes, or the Pulse M for the rear channel as well. We even make a TV stand that the soundbar can be mounted to if you've got, most of the TVs come with tiny little feet these days. So if you need to raise up the TV, we even make a stand for it as well. Here's the input cup on the back. So HDMI, physical subwoofer output, analog and optical audio input, as well as USB, all there as well. One of the pieces I hinted at a little earlier, we call the hub. It's an input box. That's the best way to think of it. It's a way for you to get any input onto the system for any player to grab. All of our players have inputs. The way they're shared in our system would be through grouping. So for example, let's say you've got a power node and the customer wants to hook a turntable up to it. Great, you can do that. But if you now want to share that in the kitchen, you have to group that power node with the kitchen. With the hub grouping, you don't need to group it. You can plug it directly in. So if you have a distributed audio system down in the basement, let's say a soundbar in the bedroom, and maybe one of our traditional component pieces in a den, they want to add a turntable and share it around the house, you don't have to run cable, do anything. This hub is $320 US retail. Put it on the network, plug in your physical media, and now that's shared anywhere in the house, just like a physical input. It shows up, as you could see, in the app, just as another input. So it's, if they needed 2 HDMI inputs in a soundbar, great, you could do it that way. Lots and lots of different choices. We actually have a dealer, him and his wife like to do wine and barbecue on Friday night and listen to vinyl out on their back deck. All they did, plug in a hub. You can see it has a phono input, and away you go. Now you can have that stuff ready to go for you anywhere throughout the house. So it really is a complete ecosystem, whether it's NAD products, PSB, DALI, Bluesound, any of our third-party brands. All of our support is done in Pickering. All our control drivers really is a pretty hardy, complete system as far as that goes. So happy to take some questions from anybody, and I'm going to shut the door here. So hopefully you don't have to listen to the fire alarm going off anymore. So feel free to ask any questions. So.
David, the two questions we have here. The first is the CD ripper. There isn't any like copyright issues with that. I know there was a movie player that had an issue with that, but that would, I guess
No, the way
production of the product.
Yeah, no. I mean that the Vault is actually one of our original products. It had a different form factor way back in the day. The way that the copyright laws are written for CDs and that is you must own the disc, and then it's okay. So I can't borrow your CD and rip it in my collection, legally speaking. But if I own the CD, then I can rip it and play it as long as I own the disc. So
I think the big thing is like distribution purposes, right? That's really where those laws are.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I'm, by the letter of the law, I'm not allowed to rip all my CDs and give my CDs to you because then I don't own them anymore. I mean, let's be honest, CDs are not something like that's a product we've had for a very long time. In the beginning, it was actually one of our number one sellers. It slowly started to dwindle off. It's certainly very attractive to customers of a certain demographic that aren't willing to give up their physical media. But to be honest, like Tidal is 98 million tracks. I guarantee you there's not a customer out there with a library that big, but they just don't want to give it up. And we see it all the time. We have customers like, and usually what I say to them, I almost unsell it sometimes where I'll say, okay, yes, you want a Vault. I know you want to rip all your CDs, but if you've got 1,000 CDs, before you rip them all, go onto Tidal or Qobuz. If it's there, don't bother ripping it. Their libraries are massive. It's just a different way of thinking for some people. It's a bit of a mind shift. And what most people find is, they'll rip all their CDs and they'll never ever go to them because everything they own is on Tidal or Qobuz or whatever. And quite frankly, in better quality than their CDs. So it's definitely a very niche product. And, like I said, the sales 10 years ago, it was the number one product. It's not even top 5 anymore. It's slowly slipping down the chain as more people, really do embrace streaming. So
speaking of high-res music services like a Qobuz, Tidal, I mean, let's face it, other competitors have access to these music services. Mm-hmm. What sets Bluesound apart is the hardware, right?
Yes.
Being able to I guess recreate that for high resolution. Am I right in saying that? I think that's kind of what the point we're trying to get across here is that it's the product itself. I mean, anybody could access these from any other competitor out there. I won't name them, but the difference is the Bluesound products able to recreate that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll use Tidal for example, since it's kind of one of the Tidal and Qobuz are probably the two best known high-res platforms. Lots of companies have access to that. I mean, you can take it in your iPhone and Bluetooth it to a speaker, but you're not getting high resolution. You're not getting the benefit of that audio quality. And of our competitors that do high resolution, of which there's not many, almost all of them have some kind of, I'll call it restriction or limitation. So for example, they might be able to do high res, but only one player at a time and only if it's hardwired. So as soon as you go Wi-Fi, it's not high res anymore. Or as soon as you put two of them together, it's not high res anymore. So we're high resolution, like I said, all the time, every single player, doesn't matter how many, players in the group, any of that stuff. We're all about high resolution. And even the streaming services that are not high resolution, the way that they work is, for example, Spotify being the biggest one. When you do an integration with a streaming partner, there's multiple different streams to choose from. 320 kilobits is Spotify's highest level, but then they go down from there all the way down to, really, really poor quality MP3s. We always pick the highest stream, whereas a lot of our competitors, the way that they operate is they may start there, but if they get complaints from customers about dropouts and that, they start going lower and lower and lower down the audio chain until the phone stops ringing with complaints. We go back and we fix the software and hardware to make it work. So even, like Spotify to Spotify, same album, same track, same artist, same everything, digital out. So you're not even taking advantage of, our engineering, expertise in DACs and all that. A lot of people say, how can you possibly sound better? It's, MP3. It's like, because we're picking the best quality MP3 we can get. If we got to do MP3s, we want the best and make it the best. So that's the advantage as well. Even in the lossy formats, a lot of people will talk. Sound quality is definitely subjective. I don't like to focus in purely on sound quality because everybody says their stuff sounds good, but it's the user experience, the breadth of hardware. For example, 80 different products. There's nobody out there that has that variety to choose from. Like there's nobody that makes a $13,000 single room solution. And we have one that's $320 and everything in between. So it really is a price point for everyone. So you have lots of opportunities to make more money, to build a better system for the customer. And it's not a science experiment. Like that's the challenge with integrating, I'll call it, other like different brands together. You might take brand X's, let's say, high-end amplifier, let's say Macintosh or, some of the other, higher end, D'Agostino, whatever, the sky's the limit. Well, how do you get streaming into it? Will it turn on? Does it work? The works with tag doesn't always work with. With ours, it's integrated, like whether it be our high-end 2-channel separates or AVR. When the customer hits play in the app, it turns on and starts playing. It's every single time. It really is simple to use. I say, if you can teach a customer how to use a sound bar or the speaker unit, you can teach them how to use $13,000 separates because it just works.
Even Art said, compared to, he's listed a bunch of other brands, that nothing comes close to the definition of the Bluesound node. So
yeah,
they're right there.
And
then
I was going to say, because we're an audio company that learned how to do software, not the other way around. So that's always, the main goal is to, to make stuff sound as good as we can. You're the step up. You can't be the same. So.
Well, no, it's really good. I really appreciate it. Hope my question asked above. I was asking about the hub. He said, Chad said, these nodes have the ability to function as a preamp as well as a streamer, and such a small footprint is great. Example, an old Nuvo device can be added.
Yep. Our node, you can set the node and the vault. You can set to be fixed or variable output. So if you have an old, whatever music distribution system out there that's, multi-channel amplifiers, you could plug in a couple of nodes and away you go. So very, very handy that way as well. Even little things that set us apart. For example, in the node, you can set it to be stereo, left, right, or mono. So if you're doing a backyard system that's whatever, all 70-volt speakers, in mono, you can set the node or the vault to be mono, and now you don't have to worry about Y cables or anything else. It just makes it simple and easy to operate. And again, I come from a custom install background. I worked for a high-end integrator here in Toronto for almost a decade, so I understand. One extra connection, 2 extra connections are just more things that can go wrong. 5-10 years down the road. So there's lots of stuff in the software to make it easy to operate. Like things like volume limits, you can actually set a maximum volume limit and a minimum as well. So, let's say an amplified product in a big room, you want it to ramp up a little faster so it gets louder quicker. You can drag up the minimum volume so that it ramps faster. There's a ton of customization in there. Renaming inputs, so it's not optical one. The customer has no idea what that means. You can call it TV
Right.
sound. Hide the inputs you're not using so it doesn't confuse the customer. All of that stuff, is designed to make the system simple and easy to use, so that customers don't call you asking for help. And that's the other thing about our system too that I didn't talk about. We don't market to your customers. We're a privately owned company. We're not a venture capital based company. We have a very long-term goal for this of decades long. So when you plug in our system, if you physically hardwire it, the way it works is you will plug it in, open up the app, it'll look for an update, and you're done. The player's on the network ready to go. You could be playing audio. If you're doing Wi-Fi, it's going to ask you to put it on the Wi-Fi network, do an upgrade, and you're done. There is no, enter your username, create an account, any of that stuff. It just works. Same if you have guests come over to your house. They don't need to create an account to use the system. They could, if they're on your network, they could either AirPlay to it or Bluetooth to it if you don't want them to download the app, or they can download the BluOS app, and now they can do that. So we actually have I'll say it's a rental house, so to speak, that one of our dealers did not too long ago. It's just down the street from the White House, near the president of Google, and they throw big events. So they have a $40,000 audio system, in the main room, and a QR code that when they rent the house out, now they can operate the BluOS system just by scanning a QR code and getting on the house. The automation system is kept separate so that they can't change the temperature and do security stuff, but they have quick and easy access to the audio system. So it really is pretty simple to use. And our newest app, the old app was quite good and easy to use. We've just made it faster and easier. So,
And not to tease this too much for tomorrow's presentation, but as far as NAD goes, the Bluesound technology is actually built into a lot of the products.
Exactly.
NAD.
Yeah, we do it with NAD. We do it one of two different ways. It's either built in natively, or you can add it in by a card. For example, all of our AV products have it built in natively. So you've automatically got a media room or a home theater room with BluOS built in, so you can use the Bluesound streaming that way. The 2-channel products, you literally can plug in a card. Basically, if you can turn a Phillips screwdriver in 2 different directions, you can install the card. You don't have to take it apart. It's just a slot in the back. That'll get covered in more detail tomorrow. But then you can add it in. So, a 2-channel piece that would stand alone, you just plug the card in, and now you have Bluesound and Dirac room correction in a 2-channel product. So very, very straightforward, very easy to use. And at the end of the day, to the customer, it's den, it's living room. It really is simple and easy to use.
Well, David, I really appreciate your time today. Thanks
No
for jumping
problem.
on, training us on Bluesound. I do know if there's ever a fire at the Lenbrook headquarters, you guys are going to be okay.
Yes. Yeah.
You guys are going to be well prepared.
Yes. And if anybody has any questions, whatever, feel free to reach out via phone, email, whatever. I'd be more than happy to answer questions as well. And, more info coming tomorrow.
There's also and Travis actually shared this with me. There's a link that we could share with you guys. Just reach out to your rep. But there's the ability to have specific one-on-one training with the team. If you'd like any additional help on products or technology application, reach out to your rep. We'll get you that link. And we stock all the Bluesound and NAD products at all 7 locations. of 21st century. So reach out to us if you have any questions. It's also on our dealer website. So really appreciate you guys joining us today. We will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And thank you so much, David.
Thank you. Thanks for everybody.